Hi class, I'm Josh Campbell and I chose chapter 13 for our discussion this week. Chapter 13 is authored by Dr. Joan V. Gallos, who is actually the editor for the business leadership textbook that we're using this semester. Simply put, this chapter is about situational leadership. It's about understanding how effective decision making happens at the organizational level. And as Dr. Gallos puts it, an organization's fate rests on the lenses that its leaders bring to making sense of situations. She calls this idea sense making. And she says that good sense making is really a prerequisite for good leadership. Leaders must be able to navigate and make sense of all the uncertainties and challenges that happen at the organizational level, and they have to be able to translate that into appropriate choices and actions that are going to lead their organization forward. She also argues that leaders need to have guiding theories or principles that are going to serve as really a framework for their sense-making process. It's going to be the lens that they put on to help them understand and see the world around them and make sense of the things happening around them. And sense-making as a process for leadership involves 3 steps. It's first noticing something around you. Then it's deciding what you're going to make of it. How are you going to understand it? What lens are you going to put on to see this situation? And then lastly, determining what you're going to do about it. What actions, based on the lens that you're wearing and how you're going to understand this situation, what actions are you going to take as a leader? She defines sense-making as a personal search for meaning grounded by criteria of plausibility and satisficing rather than accuracy. And what I think she means by this is that basically as leaders, we need to be looking for viable solutions that fit our personal and our organizational context. They fit our personal leadership theories, our personal values, and are going to be good for our organization. Not necessarily the one right answer. And so as leaders, we are all going to approach the sense-making process differently. And in any given situation, the way that a leader responds is likely going to be different based on the way that that particular leader makes sense of a situation. And so sense-making can be a very, very powerful and effective tool for leaders, but there's also a caution. It can also be a dangerous thing if not utilized properly. And the example that she gives is that 15% of all medical diagnoses are inaccurate because of what she calls sense-making errors. This is ignoring information, in this case test results, that contradict the fixed notion or the theory about what's going on. And so as leaders, we are all going to be presented with things that kind of contradict our theories or our preconceived ideas of what is going on. And the struggle for effective leadership is, can we revise our theories when we're presented with challenges and our theories that we're using no longer serve us well for making sense of the things that are happening, for making sense of how to move our organization forward. And so this is really what defines and separates successful leaders from poor leaders, according to Dr. Gallos. The story that she gives to kind of back this up is the story that begins our chapter of the Montgomery Ward CEO, Avery Sewell. He held so tightly to his theory and his ideas, and even when things seemed to be pointing in another direction, he held so tightly that it did not serve him or his organization well, and ultimately he's looked at as a poor leader as a result. And so as leaders, we need good theories, and our theories are what's going to guide us, and the leadership initiatives that we use to guide our organizations and operate as leaders are important. However, as leaders, we must learn to strengthen our theory building and our sense-making skills. and we need to be able to be light on our feet and to adapt and to put on new lenses for understanding the world around us when needed. And so the chapter offers what are called four frames for understanding organizations and kind of four lenses for looking at organizations. These are the structural frame, human resource frame, the political frame, and the symbolic frame. And the chapter kind of explains how you can see an organization and see situations through those different frames. Organizations are going to tend to operate simultaneously in all four frames, and so we have to understand how those frames are influencing our organization and use that information to make a proper diagnosis and to make the right decisions for each situation that we're presented with. The other concept that's brought up here is this idea of the central frame tensions. And essentially, what this is about is that with each frame for understanding, there are tensions, there are opposite ends of the spectrum. And as leaders, these tensions reflect the trade-offs and challenges that come with balancing all the forces that exist within our organization. And there's going to be positive, good things at both ends of the spectrum, but most of the time we will find ourselves in any decision somewhere between the two endpoints. And so it's about balancing all the factors and aligning our decision with what's best for our organization, what's best for the situation at hand, that also simultaneously aligns with the mission, vision, the values of us personally and of our organization. These four frames offer a way to navigate organizational leadership and to aid us in decision making and sense making. So they can be a tool for diagnosing problems, diagnosing the state of our organizations. And then the chapter concludes with this idea of specialization versus generalization. We will pick up on this conversation with the mini assignment. So if you choose to do the mini assignment, we will focus exclusively on this idea of specialization versus generalization. And so thank you for sticking with me, and I look forward to having some good conversation this week with each of you regarding Chapter 13.